it's just going to keep happening. Because it's been happening. It's just going to keep on happening until something changes.
Victims of Baltimore's juvenile crime crisis are demanding change. Their calls for accountability for city and state leaders. And could GPS trackers be Baltimore's solution to the spike in car thefts? Topping our next half hour, why one city council member is pushing for the city to follow the DC's lead.
Good morning, I'm Wyatt Everhart. Temperatures down around the freezing mark in many spots this morning, so a chilly start, but we'll talk about the warm-up on the way right here on Fox 45 Morning News.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
And good morning to you. Just look at the sky over the Inner Harbor area, I believe that is. Thanks for being with us this Saturday, November 4th. I'm Taylor Stewart. Let's get over to your forecast. Meteorologist Wyatt Everhart. It's been some beautiful fall days, especially in the afternoon, but chilly in the morning for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is like latte season big time in the morning, right? So
for
a nice
sure.
hot beverage this morning, good idea. As maybe you take the dog out for an early walk, you're going to find crisp conditions, no wind at least, but yeah, we are in the 30s and 40s out there, widespread 30s and 40s across the state right now. You can see actually 36 Gaithersburg, 34 in Chestertown. Around the city, a little closer to the upper 30s. But overall, again, just a chilly start, pretty normal stuff for this time of November. We've got a few fair weather clouds drifting in out of the west today. So I don't think like full-on sunshine throughout the day, similar to what we had yesterday. A few more clouds around. Hold temperatures down just a little bit. Still a warmer day. Upper 60s, I think, for most of the central part of the state. Pretty mild conditions overall. You see we climb into those mid-60s through the midday here. Excuse me, partly cloudy skies will be the story. I think as we go into Sunday, kind of a repeat performance, but there is the chance for 70 degrees in the outlook. We'll profile that coming up.
All right, sounds good, Wyatt. We're continuing coverage this morning as Fox 45 News is pressing the Department of Juvenile Services for some answers here on why the two teens in this video were released after allegedly attacking a Baltimore woman. This security footage from Butcher's Hill shows a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old tackling a woman, punching her right to the ground there on Wednesday night. She says after the assault, she got a call from DJS telling her those kids were released less than 2 hours after this attack. This incident is just the latest example of kids committing crime. Rebecca Pryor, who's demanding answers from DJS, has more on why those kids were not held accountable for the alleged assault. She has more right now.
On a well-lit street just
we can only hope that they'll not listen to just folks like me or my 23 colleagues across the state or the chief prosecutors in their counties, but hopefully they'll listen to their citizens, because their citizens are saying the exact same thing. Enough's enough.
Now, youth crime crisis is impacting communities across our state, as you just heard. Earlier this week, 16-year-old Khalil Jones was shot and killed during an attempted robbery on Bowley's Lane right here in Baltimore. Police say he'd been arrested for an attempted carjacking just this past summer. And last week, two 15-year-olds also charged for a shooting in front of Carver High School. Police say both of those kids, a 16-year-old Carver student, were hurt when the two fired at each other. And then in Montgomery County, a 12-year-old is accused of making 7 school threats over the past 3 weeks. Police say the boy knew he would not face any charges because of Maryland's juvenile justice laws. Well, next week, state lawmakers are set to hold a hearing to address the juvenile crime crisis. Keep in mind it is not a special session rather, and lawmakers will not be able to change the laws. They plan to hear testimony from the Maryland Attorney General's office, members of the state's Juvenile Justice Reform Council, and the Maryland Police Union to get a better grasp on the issues ahead of the next session. House Speaker Adrian Jones and Senate President Bill Ferguson, they are two of the most powerful lawmakers in Annapolis. If you'd like to contact them about public safety, their phone numbers and email addresses are right there on your screen. A Baltimore hero laid to rest. Coming up, the funeral of Captain Dylan Ronaldo.
And temperature-wise, you can see it is a milder setup across the east today, but the chilly air not far. We'll detail a mixed 7-day forecast coming up.
Fox 45 News, winner of 16 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
On October 19th, 2023, Dylan responded to his last alarm. He approached this response as he had countless others with thought and purpose. He performed heroically and valiantly.
Firefighters from across the Baltimore area joined the family and friends of Captain Dylan Ronaldo on Friday to lay him to rest. The captain was one of 2 firefighters that died battling a multi-row home fire just last month. And during the funeral, his fellow firefighters and loved ones described Ronaldo as fiercely loyal and determined to protect others.
We make plans while God laughs. God's plan for Dylan was that he die a hero. And heroes never really die.
Live like Dylan. Enjoy the mornings. Order the dessert. Fall in love. Travel. Read. Brew a fresh pot of coffee. Tell stories around the firehouse table. Hug. Hug often. Smile. Laugh more than you cry.
In just 2 years, the fire department has lost 6 firefighters, 5 of them dying while battling fires at the time. The city had also relaunched Code X-Ray, a program that warns firefighters about the hazards of vacant homes before they go inside. And now firefighters have been instructed not to enter a burning building right away. The only exception here is if there's credible report of a trapped individual inside that building.
Waiting for a chief officer to come on the scene and allow us to do our job, that's handcuffing the officers that are first arriving on the scene, you know, that would normally be able to make those decisions. And for them not to be able to make those decisions, that's putting lives at risk.
Union leaders plan to meet with the fire department and their leadership next week in hopes of hammering out a far less restrictive policy. Well, we're looking forward to a nice fall day with temperatures in the upper 60s. Meteorologist Wyatt Everhart lets us know when and how your Ravens are preparing in his next forecast. And prepare yourself to get an extra hour of sleep tonight. Just ahead, what time you can expect the U.S. to resume standard time. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News Weekend Edition, all local, all morning. All right, I think we're in store for some nice weather today. Let's get over to meteorologist Wyatt Everhart with a look at what we're expecting, Wyatt. It's gorgeous behind you already.
Yeah, fantastic out there. I mean, beautiful start, right, Taylor? And you know, seasonably cold. We've had so much unseasonable warmth and then the big chill last week. So it's kind of nice to just see a seasonable early November pattern emerge, right? Not too cold, but not really too warm either. 35 right now, BWI just above freezing. And so the widespread frost of the last two mornings, a little frost out there this morning, not quite as widespread though. 40 in Cockeysville now, 36 in Essex, Brooklyn Park at 39, and Woodlawn, you're at 42. So through the day, it is a decent warm up here on tap as we climb into the upper 60s. Now, I do think a fair amount of cloud cover today, so relatively dry weather will be the story. A little typo there with the showers on and off, just relatively dry, but there will be some cloud cover to deal with at times out there today. So that'll hold temperatures back just a little bit, I think, as we see clouds drift in from the mid-levels into the afternoon. Overall, though, again, this is a fairly quiet weather pattern for a November weekend. A little more sunshine on tap for the second half of the weekend as we go into our Sunday around here, a brighter day. And I think air temperatures are going to be just about the same, you know, climbing into the upper 60s on Sunday. The difference is, as the Ravens get ready to play, is that we're talking about a brighter day. I might need the sunglasses more so on Sunday versus Saturday. Front locked in out to the upper Midwest right now. Cool, dry air out ahead of it. High pressure behind it. There are some colder numbers out there, but those colder numbers not really set to blast in anytime soon. We don't have like a powerhouse cold front on the march the way we did early last week. So overall, the temperature map is moderating out there. Wherever your travels take you today, I mean, we find upper 60s in Baltimore, widespread 70-degree numbers across the Mid-South. Warm spot no shocker, down toward Miami, 81 degrees. LA, 80 today. So if you want the warmer weather, you know where to fly. 68 on Sunday. I think low 60s on Monday. Kind of battle back and forth here. Some cooler air infiltrates for Wednesday. But overall, this is a pretty seasonable pattern. And really, overall, great weather for the Ravens. And feel like football out there on a Sunday. Early tailgaters with the fleece on for sure. Warm coat needed on Sunday. But otherwise, relatively quiet pattern. Better chances for rain coming in toward the middle part of the week. We'll head back your way.
Welcome into your morning sports report. I'm Rocco DeSangro. The Ravens have a problem, and I'm not talking about a bad one. Kyle Hamilton is having a really solid second season. Geno Stone has been playing out of his mind, and Marcus Williams, his health seems to be trending upwards. Mike McDonald, knowing him, we could be seeing all three safeties on the field at the same time.
Kind of like a good problem to have, where we got a lot of guys who can get on the field and perform well. And I think once we get down the stretch, down to the playoffs and stuff like that, it's going to be really helpful for us. Being able to rotate if that's what we're doing, or put guys in different spots. But I think all over the field it's been shown that we're too deep, really good at every single position, at least.
Joining us now, former Terp, retired NFL linebacker Sean Lights Out Merriman. He's on Sports Unlimited holding the Lights On Foundation coat drive before Saturday's game between Maryland and Penn State. Sean, what do people need to know about this event?
Yeah, this is my 21st annual winter coat drive coming up. And, you know, over the last 21 years, man, we've collected over 33,000 coats. This year we'll be benefiting McVet, you know, taking care of the veterans this year and trying to do more for them. And yeah, so tomorrow at the Penn State Maryland football game, you can drop off your used coats, your sweatshirts, hoodies, hats, gloves, anything you have, man, to help these people out. You know, I've been doing this for 21 years, but I would say it's really all the people who's come out and supported this over the last 21 years is why I'm able to still keep this going.
This is something that is near and dear to your heart. Sean, for those out there that don't know your backstory, why is that?
We lost our home when I was 11 years old to fires. So me, my mom, my sister, we had to go sleep in cars, shelters, motels, you name it. And it was around that blizzard of 96 or so, I believe it was. I remember being outside and it was freezing cold. I had on 2 sweatshirts, socks on my hands, but didn't have a hat because we couldn't afford it. And I always said, look, if I ever got into a position one day that I would help as many people as I could, and when I initially launched it at the University of Maryland, my sophomore year, I thought that we were only going to get like 100 coats, right? If we got 100 coats, I was happy about it. We're helping 100 people. We got almost 3,000 coats. And so at that moment, I knew that it was something that was important. And, you know, thanks to the University of Maryland, DTLR, you know, DTLR's coming this year. They're donating hundreds and hundreds of coats. I appreciate those guys again for coming on board. But everybody, man, who kept this going, please come at the Penn State game. If you can drop it off, I'll be there collecting coats myself starting at noon. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody there.
Sean, you're doing awesome things, man. That is just great stuff. And while you're here, though, we want to talk some football with you. Your Terps riding a 3-game losing streak. I know you don't like that at all. Tomorrow, though, a big one against number 9 Penn State. Do you view this as a must-win for the program?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And one thing I always said, even before, I think Loxley is one of the best coaches in the country. And I know for sure he's one of the best recruiters for sure. There's so much talent in this D.C., Maryland, Virginia area. We want these guys to stay home. That's what it's about. I always said that we can compete with anyone in the country as long as you stay home. And so, you know, they dropped one against Illinois, understanding in Northwestern. You got to have those type of games. They go out and they push back against Penn State. They find a way to win a game tomorrow to get back on track, get that respect and notoriety, and get back on that momentum train. I think that was the biggest hurdle for them, man. After the Ohio State game, I thought it was a really a gut punch. It took a lot out of them, and so if they can get back into it by getting a win at Penn State tomorrow, I think it'd be huge.
Donate, go see Sean, enjoy the game. Whole day of action your way on Saturday. Sean Merriman, thank you so much for joining us on Sports Unlimited. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
So if you're going to the game, here's what you can bring. Use coats, hats, gloves, really anything to help out. Volunteers will be posted at gates C, F, and I beginning an hour and a half before kickoff until the end of the first quarter. Sean says he'll be there at noon. Kickoff is slated for 3:30 p.m. That's going to do it for your morning sports report. I'm Rocco DeSangro. Thanks for watching. Have a great Saturday.
All right, love it or hate it, it's finally time to turn back time. We're talking about daylight saving. It begins tonight, and here's some really interesting facts about this practice, okay? So Benjamin Franklin actually proposed a version of daylight saving all the way back in 1784, but it was used as a way to save money on candles and lamp oil, right? Okay, so, but get this, it wasn't until 1918 that it was actually implemented here in the U.S., and another good fact for you, if you don't like it, Hawaii, Arizona, they're the only two states that do not participate in switching their clocks back.
I'm Angela Brown in Washington, D.C. What employees are doing to game the system to avoid coming back to work in the office.
Well, look at that sky. We're under mostly cloudy skies, but look at that sky. It's just gorgeous. Still ahead, what you can expect for the work week. Stick with us here at Fox 45 Morning News, Weekend Edition, all local, all morning.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
Good Saturday morning to you this November 4th on a gorgeous fall morning. You're in the right spot. Thanks for hanging out with us here at Fox 45. I'm Taylor Stewart, and let's get to your forecast. Meteorologist Wyatt Everhart with what's in store for the rest of the day.
Yeah, look, classic fall weather is really what we'd call it, right, Taylor? And crisp mornings, a little mild in the afternoon. Got a nice start, dry start this morning. 30s and 40s, depends where you are. Aberdeen and Easton on the chillier side. Not so cold in Annapolis or Westminster right now, nowhere in the city. You can see basically the numbers statewide just above freezing for the most spots. So patchy frost will be possible, but I don't think the widespread frost that we had yesterday morning. Overall, maybe just a few clouds drifting in at times this afternoon. If we get more cloud cover, that holds temps down just a bit lower than they would otherwise be. So probably ending in the upper 60s today. Again, very seasonable stuff for early November. The climb is from the 40s through the 50s, and we're into the 60s this afternoon. Much the same it looks like for our Ravens game day. We'll detail that, plus the chance for 70s. It's all coming up.
All right, continuing coverage this morning. More than 9,400 cars have been stolen in Baltimore this year alone. That number is up more than 200% from this time in 2022. The city is well on its way to seeing more than 10,000 car thefts by the end of November. And now a Baltimore City Council member is urging the city to help Baltimore residents track their cars so they can know where their car is even after it's stolen. Fox 45's Amy Simpson has the details.
Hopping on a flight nowadays, it's not uncommon for travelers to place GPS trackers inside their luggage. Now a Baltimore City councilman wants to use those same trackers as auto thefts soar citywide.
The rate of auto theft is completely out of control.
11th District Councilman Eric Costello sending this letter to Mayor Brandon Scott on Thursday, calling for emergency funding approval to buy more steering wheel locks, but also buy digital tracking tags for cars in the city, wanting to give them out to drivers for free.
By having one of these devices in your vehicle, you're able to quickly go online and find the exact location of your vehicle. If your vehicle's been stolen, you can alert police to it, and you can help expedite the investigation for BPD.
Just this week, Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser and the Metropolitan Police Department launched its own pilot program
to give out free tracking tags, most commonly known as Apple AirTags or tiles.
D.C. already set to hold 3 distribution events next week for residents who live in districts hardest hit by auto theft.
These tags and tiles will help MPD recover stolen vehicles and hold people accountable. The word will also get out that this is not a community to come in and steal cars.
Back here in Baltimore, MVA data as of July 31st reveals roughly 225,000 cars are registered here in the city. Costello saying he wants to provide a tracker for anyone who wants one. And by his estimate, they cost as low as $22 a piece. So some quick math shows just 10,000 trackers could cost taxpayers more than $200 grand. Fox 45 asking if the city can afford this.
When the police department is overwhelmed with service calls through 911, do they have the bandwidth to deal with an additional 6,000 stolen vehicles per year? And the answer that we all know is no, they do not. So we have got to do something creative.
Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
It appears that GPS trackers will likely become a reality here in Baltimore. Just yesterday afternoon, the mayor's office told Fox 45 News they're working with BPD to secure AirTags or something similar. No specifics on timing, though, were given. Of the NAACP says parents with children in failing schools deserve better options. Project Baltimore's Chris Papps explains the most recent state test scores in Baltimore County are showing us just how many failing schools there really are.
We're in serious trouble.
Ryan Coleman, the president of the Randallstown chapter of the NAACP, knows numbers don't lie.
When you're talking about the math scores, I mean, these open up all type of careers in a lot of different areas that you're blocked. You won't go into them if you're not proficient in math. And we're seeing our children, especially children of color, having these issues.
Coleman is responding to what Project Baltimore just told him. We analyzed the most recent state test scores released last month, and we found 27 schools in Baltimore County had 5% or fewer of the students test proficient in math. 27 schools. We can't see the exact numbers. Citing student privacy, the state redacts the scores for low-performing schools. But we can see in those 27 schools, more than 15,000 students took the test, and at least 95% were not proficient in math. As we dig deeper into the scores, we can see of those 27 schools, 17 of them are high schools. That is an alarming number, but it makes sense if you look at the math scores for the students going into high school. Last year, more than 10,000 students in Baltimore County took the 7th or 8th grade state math exams, and 5% or fewer scored proficient. Think about that. In all of Baltimore County schools, 5% or fewer of the 7th and 8th graders who took those tests scored proficient in math.
for the last 10 years, I mean, it's been failing schools after failing schools. And I just think our membership is tired of it and they just want options now.
Coleman said these alarmingly low math scores are reflected in the results of a survey recently released by the Randallstown NAACP. The civil rights organization surveyed 700 of its members about crime, the economy, and education. From the survey, 86% of respondents said a child in a failing school should have access to high-achieving magnet schools. 52% were in favor of using public education dollars for private schools. 51% favored charter schools, and 30% are in favor of vouchers.
African American students are not being educated, and they want to keep our students in these failing schools.
You said they want to keep our children in failing schools. Who is they?
The supporters of public education to a certain degree, you know. It could be the unions, it could be the folks that are well-intentioned, I believe, but what has fomented from that is failing schools for African American children year over and year over and year over.
At most of these 27 schools, the majority of students are African American, but the families at these schools now have fewer options to leave. Earlier this year, lawmakers in Annapolis reduced the funding for a popular state program called Boost. Boost offers scholarships similar to vouchers to income-eligible families, allowing them to attend parochial or other non-public schools. Last year, the program statewide had more than 3,200 recipients, mostly minority students from Baltimore County and Baltimore City. Maryland Governor Wes Moore and special interest groups like the teachers' unions have opposed programs like Boost, saying they hurt public schools, which lose money when students leave.
We made the largest investment in public education by any governor in our state's history.
In his State of the State address, Governor Moore touted how his administration is funding public education at record levels. But according to the results of this NAACP survey, more funding isn't fixing the problems. And African Americans in Baltimore County, according to the NAACP, want educational options for their families. But instead, their elected officials in Annapolis are giving them fewer options.
We can't have our children jailed, sequestered in failing schools. The whole purpose of public education was to educate people who could not be educated, who were not rich. That was the whole purpose of public education. And that's not happening right now.
I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
A new foundation to help those struggling with addiction. How one organization is helping the community in honor of the late Matthew Perry.
And I'm Wyatt Everhart. A chilly start this morning in the 30s and some clouds mainly offshore right now. We'll talk about how things will change through the course of the weekend. Your Ravens game day forecast too. It's all coming up right here.
In your consumer news, more companies are mandating that workers return to the office, leading employees to come up with ways to change the system or game the system. National Desk Angela Brown explains how workers are getting around the system.
A new office trend called coffee badging to trick the system into thinking that you're actually in the office when you're not. Employees are gaming the system, protesting back-to-work mandates by showing up, swiping in, and taking off.
Coffee badging is swiping in, grabbing a cup of coffee, circling the office, chatting with a few people, and then sneaking out.
The concept, not new, just updated to get around technology that companies use, like key cards, to track movement.
Because no matter what you do as an organization, no matter how hard you try to force people to be someplace, they'll find another way around it.
Coffee badging gaining traction as more companies ramp up return to work policies. An October report from Resume Builder finds about 90% of companies plan to implement return to office policies by the end of 2024. Jason Greer, Greer Consulting.
If your employer mandates that you be in the office 5 days a week, that's what your employer's mandate. And you come into the office. If you feel like that doesn't fit for you, if you feel like that doesn't fit for your lifestyle, in terms of what has been created over the past 2 to 3 years of working remote or hybrid, then you take your talents elsewhere.
But workers are taking their talents to the job, just leaving. A recent survey from Owl Labs shows that 58% of nearly 2,000 employees on a hybrid work model admitted to coffee badging. Many of these employees are leaving the office so they can work remotely at home, but coffee badging can be risky. If you're caught, you could get fired. Reporting in Washington, D.C., I'm Angela Brown.
More than a year after a gruesome stabbing inside a Baltimore home, an accused murderer still walks free. Alexa Ashwell has an update on that case up next in Maryland's Most Wanted. And we're in for a warmer weekend ahead. Meteorologist Wyatt Everhart lets us know when you'll see another cool down in his full forecast coming up. Stick with us here at Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning. Making headlines, a foundation has been created in Matthew Perry's name to help those struggling with addiction. It launched on Friday, less than a week after the actor's death. And in a statement, the Matthew Perry Foundation says it wants to honor his legacy by changing as many lives as possible. The Friends stars were vocal about his decades-long battle with alcohol and drug addiction. An accused murderer is still walking free on the streets after a gruesome stabbing inside of a Baltimore home. A fugitive wanted for a shooting of his mother and his child is now in custody. But Alexa Ashwell has it all in Maryland's Most Wanted.
For the past year, investigators have been searching for this man, Melvin Moore. Investigators say in a fit of rage, he stabbed a man nearly a half dozen times, then left him for dead. The U.S. Marshal Service now needs your help tracking him down. November 16th, 2022, Northwest Baltimore's Rosemont community. Investigators say an argument erupts inside of a home between two men. One of them, Melvin Moore.
There was a verbal argument in a residence. There were other people that were present.
What the argument was about, unclear. But investigators say it quickly escalated when Moore pulls out a knife and lunges at the victim.
Pulled out a knife and stabbed that individual multiple times in the chest.
Moore, investigators say, flees as other people inside of the home call 911.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
He was rushed to shock trauma.
But it was too late. The victim dies at the hospital, just 25 years old.
He was pronounced deceased.
Moore now on the run for murder. And while investigators believe he's still in Baltimore, the hunt is proving difficult. Moore, they say, is homeless.
One of the issues that we're having right now is identifying a location that Mr. Moore is located because he is homeless. Mr. Moore is known to be a squatter and known to jump from vacant property to vacant property.
And is also known to frequent Baltimore's West Side Shopping Center and the Frederick Avenue corridor. Investigators stressing Moore's criminal history and unpredictable behavior makes him a danger to all, with crimes dating back nearly 20 years. The latest, murder, according to police.
Whenever you have somebody who has no issues of pulling out a knife and taking somebody else's life, it's important to get them off the street.
Investigators stress thousands of dollars on the table for information leading to the whereabouts of Moore. So take a good look. Investigators say he may have cut his hair. We have examples of both here. Moore is described as standing at about 5'9" and weighing approximately 145 pounds. If you have any information regarding his whereabouts, you're asked to contact the U.S. Marshal Service. The tip line number, 1-877-WANTED-2, or you can contact agents directly, 202-819-5058. Update. Less than 1 week after appearing on Maryland's Most Wanted, the man accused of shooting the mother of his child is in custody. Investigators say a viewer recognized Daryl Davis and led agents to his location in Columbia, Maryland. Davis was wanted for the attempted murder of the mother of his child. Back in June, investigators say he shot her during a custody exchange outside of his apartment in West Baltimore. Remember, if you recognize any of our fugitives, you can always remain anonymous and you could earn a reward. I'm Alexa Ashwell, and this is Maryland's Most Wanted.
All right, we've got a lot happening in Baltimore today. Meteorologist Wyatt Everhart is here with the answer that I've got. Will the weather hold up for us? We've got a chili cook-off at Camden. I mean, Baltimore by Baltimore. There's so much. So to let us know.
Right, game day tomorrow. I mean, like overall, this is just a classic, dry, crisp fall weekend. Taylor, great one to get out there. And just enjoy, just have that extra layer on. 35 this morning at BWI, the city hovering in the 30s as well. Wind is nearly calm. Widespread 30s. Don't see as much frost out there this morning. There'll be some patchy frost, but not the widespread freeze we had this time yesterday, so just slightly milder. We do trend milder through the day. We're talking about low 60s by, say, 1 o'clock and into the mid to upper 60s late this afternoon. Do have some cloud cover at times today, probably even a little more cloud cover today versus tomorrow, so that'll keep temperatures a little bit at bay, keep them below 70 anyway. You do look and see a little more active weather out toward Cleveland and Detroit. That's kind of your travel trouble spot. Otherwise quiet across the mid-Atlantic from Philly down through Baltimore into Richmond and Virginia Beach. It's really just a relatively quiet scenario with some fair weather cloud cover at times. Perhaps a brighter day on Sunday, a little more sunshine. So yeah, I mean, overall, just again, a nice crisp fall weekend. And it's going to feel like football for the Ravens, I think, into the mid and upper 60s as we go through the game tomorrow. Mostly sunny skies, a few clouds at times, perhaps, especially earlier in the game. But overall, great weather for the tailgate and for the game itself. Cool, dry weather in place up and down the East Coast. Not going to change much over the next 48 hours. Colder areas poised out into the upper Midwest, but not really on the move, not like this time last week. So this cold air kind of staying where it is. We're just sort of seasonably cool across the mid-Atlantic, central east coast, and the really warm stuff down into Texas and the southern states. The temperature trend is interesting. Over the next several days, it kind of hover in the mid to upper 60s, though we have a chance to get above 70 on Tuesday and again on Thursday as we kind of go back and forth with the sun. Some of the air masses shift around on the East Coast. But overall, pretty seasonal weather here, maybe even a little above seasonal. Upper 60s through the weekend, chance for 70 there Tuesday. Best chance for rain comes in late in the week, Wednesday, and again late day on Friday.
Well, there's plenty to do this weekend, so here's what's happening in our region today. At noon, you can head to the Inner Harbor Amphitheater for the last Baltimore by Baltimore festival of this year. Baltimore by Baltimore, mouthful, is partnering with Wendell Patrick as he brings his love for trailblazing fusion of jazz, hip-hop, electronic music right here to Charm City. There'll be music performances plus local vendors, great food, drinks. That fun goes until 6 p.m. today. And then at 1 o'clock over at Camden Yards, the Stars, Stripes, and Chow Chili Cook-Off gets underway. FOX45's very own Justin Chambers is emceeing and judging this event. It's all for a good cause, though, to raise funds for veterans in the Baltimore Station program. Judges from all 5 branches of the military and Justin Chambers will rate chili and award prizes to the best teams. There's also going to be raffles, a kids zone, and if you caught us yesterday on Friday, you could see there was a petting zoo. You can get more information on our website, foxbaltimore.com. Well, whether you're heading out to Camden Yards today or M&T Bank Stadium tomorrow, it's going to be some great football weather. Meteorologist Wyatt Everhart has your 7-day forecast just ahead. Just look at her.
Nice and dry, right, Taylor?
Nice and dry.
It's crisp, it's chilly. We understand that
But
the
we've
warm
got
weather is
sun,
kind of gone.
You know, we have sun.
It's always a little warmer in the sun. They say that on the ski slopes. Stop in the sun. It's 10 to 15 degrees warmer.
Ah.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Hey, upper 60s today. Yeah, not bad. That's like 5 degrees above average for this time of year. And let's show you the 10-day outlook. Why not? More upper 60s kind of throughout. A chance for 70 plus again on Tuesday, and the best chances for rain actually going to be after midweek, Taylor. So it's a dry stretch coming at us.
And that's good. I will tell you, the Ravens fans are rain or shine diehards.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter. It could
But
be snowing.
68 is a great day to play the Seahawks kind of weather.
I mean, you figure there'll be, what is it, kegs and eggs in the morning and all that. It's going to be crisp but sunny, and it'll be just fine.
I can't wait to get out there. Can't wait to get out there. And good to know we got good weather.
Yeah.
And enjoy the rest of your Saturday. We're having a shorter show today. We're going to be out of here a little bit early because we've got big noon kickoff at 10.
That's right. Big college football day, and Maryland in action, and Sunday back for the full shebang tomorrow. Right?
The full shebang. We'll be right here. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Have a great one, and make it matter.